We are talking Arthur and Merlin, Knights of Camelot. This one is directed and co-written by Giles Alderson and stars Richard Brake as Merlin. Now, Richard Brake you may know as the original Night King from the Game of Thrones TV series. He has been in a variety of genre movies, including the kind of the Rob Zombie Firefly series. It's the kind of the latest member of their family. And basically, this is a retelling of the King Arthur legend, a story that exists in the public domain. Therefore, anyone is able to make a King Arthur story. So a few things to point out. I have to say, first off, that the movie is not going to benefit from its title. Why, you might ask? Well, the movie is called Arthur and Merlin. Merlin is in 2 very short scenes, which I feel is a little bit of a misrepresentation of the story here, because obviously you are buying this or renting or watching it based on that title and that kind of relationship, but it's really not about that at all. Richard Brake, obviously the most recognisable name here. They've clearly only been able to get him for a day's worth of shooting, and yeah, he's in 2 scenes and has little to no impact on the story, if I'm being honest, either. So this movie should have been called Arthur and the Knights of Camelot, or maybe Arthur and Lancelot, because he's really the kind of secondary character here. So there's that. So we'll put a pin in that and we'll come back to that in just a second. John Boorman's Excalibur, I feel, is always going to be the yardstick, and that is going to always be the movie that any other King Arthur film is compared to, including this one. And I still feel that movie has yet to be surpassed, because it did a great job of having this, like a living poem, come to life, if you ask me. Okay, so let's talk about the plot of this one. It actually focuses on King Arthur as an adult. He has been fighting the Romans for the last 8 years as this movie starts. And he's left Camelot with Guinevere there and his son, or illegitimate son, Mordred, running things. Now, if you know the legend, you will all know that Mordred ends up being somewhat of a problem. And it tells the story of Arthur coming back with the remnants of his knights and really trying to retake his kingdom from Mordred, who has decided to kind of make a mess of things and wants to get in bed with the Saxons, so to speak. So that should kind of be a basic setup. Let's talk about what works. Okay, now I was really impressed here, because this is a very low budget movie, the fact that they have done some real location shooting in what looks to be kind of real castles. It really does add an air of epicness in a kind of what is, other than that, is a low budget film. But it certainly, I feel, really benefits from having a variety of location shooting here. That kind of really does kind of open up the world somewhat and kind of makes you feel you're living in this kind of this Arthurian age, which I thought was really, really good. And I have to say, I actually quite liked our Arthur character. Now, I actually didn't like him initially, because he's initially played to be this kind of like drunken, belligerent type of character, and I was like, that's not my King Arthur, god damn it. But I have to say, the reason why I kind of came to quite like him is the way that his story is written. You feel this man has really had to kind of put his kingdom first for his own personal, his own personal sacrifices. Now, without spoiling, well, to be honest, this is actually, you know what happens with Guinevere and Lancelot, but in this movie, it's such a kick in the balls for Arthur, to be honest with you. The way it's filmed, you're thinking, oh, that was really harsh, the way it's kind of done in this film. And obviously there's that, but also his only living son at this point has betrayed him. He's having to fight what was his own men. You feel this guy has like really had to just like any type of things he's wanted for himself. He's had to sacrifice it all for the kingdom. And that, to me, that's part of the thing that I think always made the legend of King Arthur, so fascinating, was the complete selflessness, and it's like the best of us. And there has been elements of that in other kind of adaptations. And I like the fact that within this film, even though King Arthur is depicted to be a little bit of a kind of a lout, to be honest, at the beginning of the film, he ultimately stands strong at the end. So I actually quite like that depiction of Arthur. I thought that was very strong. And that's that's how the film was written, really, to be good. That's the kind of the writers there and the script on that one. And like I've said, I think the deception of Lancelot and Guinevere was particularly stinging in this particular adaptation of how it is kind of portrayed. It really does feel like, I mean, to be fair, I mean, maybe on the flip side of that, you never really get the sense that Guinevere was that into Arthur to begin with, and you just feel like Lancelot is really just kind of like has no interest in being Arthur's friend, but it makes that kind of the betrayal that hurt that much more, because that's what Arthur thinks, even though we don't really see it on screen. This movie is obviously influenced by Game of Thrones. The way the kind of the knights are, the language, their kind of like sweary fightiness, it reminds you of like the hound scenes and stuff like that from Game of Thrones. So it's obviously clearly influenced by that, and it's trying to ape some of the kind of the grittiness and the kind of the modern kind of split, without kind of going into the kind of the Guy Ritchie kind of territory, where this movie, you know, obviously that kind of Charlie Hunnam version kind of went. So that was pretty good, and yeah, I didn't mind. I thought the fight scenes were quite good. You know, like I said, the location is pretty. The location shooting is quite good, not just in the castle, but I think there's some great cinematography in kind of the woodland areas as well, where it looks like there's like this kind of misty abbey, which I thought was very beautifully shot. Okay, but let's talk about what doesn't work. Okay, like I've mentioned at the beginning of this video, one of the things that peed me off was this kind of this Arthur and Merlin, you know, title, and Merlin being nothing, really no impact in the film whatsoever, if you ask me. I actually felt like they would have benefited from not having a named actor in this movie, and actually having Merlin more on screen more, and actually having more to do, because he really has nothing to do in this film. That was a little bit of a problem for me. So I felt like the Merlin character suffered because they wanted to have a recognisable actor. And let's be honest, Richard Brake, you know, he's known to some people, but he's not exactly a crowd puller here. So I felt that was a missed opportunity. I feel, although I like the kind of the location shooting, and this is where maybe the budget does come into effect, you never really get any of the majesty of kind of like the knights. They're in kind of like fur and leather armour, and it looks just a little bit like kind of you know, villagers, rather than kind of like a king and knight. The throne, for example, in the throne room of this castle looks like it was made from IKEA furniture. So although the locations look good, some of the kind of the set dressing, costuming is a little on the cheap side, and that's where unfortunately the budget shines through. The acting as well is a little bit of a mixed bag. I wouldn't say any acting is necessarily bad, but a little bit hammy at times. And like I said, I wasn't keen on the Arthur character first of all, and some of his dialogue is a little trite. I feel they're trying a little bit too hard to be kind of Game of Thrones at times, and it comes across as being trying too hard really, and a little bit insincere. I would have liked to have seen the relationship of the knights a little bit more, kind of a little bit interpersonal. I always feel one of the kind of like the lesser explored aspects of the Arthurian legend is the knights. I mean, we know about Lancelot, and to a degree we know about Gawain sometimes, although he's not even in this one. But I always feel like there's more to tell about the actual knights themselves. I want to know more about, you know, Agravain, Percival. I want to know more about these kind of characters. And because they are not in the kind of, there's so much story with the King Arthur legend as it is, I never feel like we really ever get to know much in regards to the knights, and I always feel it's a missed opportunity. And although this movie, you know, its subtitle is The Knights of Camelot, again, they just seem like a bunch of thugs, really. This movie is a lot of tromping around in the woods. Again, I feel like it's just trying to stretch out that budget a little bit. I feel this movie was a little bit over-ambitious because of obviously its budgetary restraints. But it still is an entertaining legend, and I actually quite like some of the writing here. You know, there are some elements that did work for me. But overall, ultimately becomes somewhat of an average film. Not bad. I have seen worse of medieval King Arthur movies, but this one really buckles under the weight of a low budget. 5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.